Welcome to Cat Unmuted. I think this is episode 5. If you like my what I share and what I talk about, please subscribe and like my videos. It'll be much helpful. Today I was kind of thinking about um, things that we go through that are hard experiences, the ones that basically mutes us, um, or mutes our authenticity, right? Um, Without those experiences, we don't really learn anything. It's like, say, a bird trying to learn how to fly, they have to fall out of the nest. They have to, or they won't be able to learn how to fly. Kids, if they don't learn how to basically hurt them, or if they don't, in a sense, play so hard and hurt themselves, they roll or whatever, um, they're not going to learn how to properly roll when the time comes. Um, a good example is when my brother, he's always been a gamer, or he's not a gamer per se. He loved games since he was a kid and played a lot of Nintendo games and never really learned how to play outdoors. And by the time he started learning how to um, be able to maneuver his body in a way where he doesn't hurt himself, um, uh, that time came when he was in middle school and joined the judo club in Japan. But before that, he didn't learn anything in that sense. And so every time he did try to play with other kids, he broke a bone, like a collarbone. He broke one side twice and the other once, if I remember correctly. And the first time he broke his collarbone, he was like 5, maybe 6. Like he was really small. But my point is, you have to go through these experiences in order to learn whatever the lesson is in that in the scenario. So, um, you know, we all go through these rock bottoms, and whenever we do go through those rock bottoms, is when we have these um, self-discoveries, self-realizations, or or um, a thought that might make you align yourself to life, so to speak, or your situation. But without them, you can't have those. But another thing you can't have is compassion because you have no idea what another person is thinking. I just saw a video the other day where this woman, I don't know what generation she's in, but she actually tried to compare her traumas to a veteran. She thought her traumas were just as traumatizing as a veteran's trauma. And I just can't, I can't even like start um, to talk about where she was at in life. Because what she was using as an example to compete, so to speak, her traumas versus a veteran's trauma. She was talking about a kidney stone she had to pass, and um, uh, at the same time she was going through some breakup with a boyfriend. You can't compare those. But my point is, when your trauma or the only things that you let yourself experience, let yourself is a weird way to say it, but when you only have the experience you have, excuse me, I need a little water. No, no matter where you're at in the world, hydration is important. But living in New Mexico, where there's no humidity, it's dry as fuck, you gotta hydrate. I've never bought such a big water um, bottle until I moved to the Midwest. Anyway, where was I at? So without these experiences, you won't be able to have the compassion you need for the person that you're talking to, right? Like, um, in her case, the people she should be talking to instead of comparing herself to a veteran are people who are going through the same thing and not comparing it, but just having compassion. Oh, I know what that feels like, and I know this is what you need, and so I'm going to support you through what I needed or the knowledge of what I needed when I was going through that. Not my pain is just as much as yours, and I'm going to prove it. Like I don't understand why you have to prove or feel the need to prove such things. But but that's not the point here. The point here is through experience, hardships, and rock bottoms, and all of those things come knowledge of all kinds of stuff, not just compassion and empathy for those going through the same thing that you had gone through in the past and you understand what it feels like, but also the fact that you know how to get up from that, right? And a lot of these rock bottoms and hardships comes a different kind of knowledge. Because, so for example, uh, since childhood, I have been not been able to use my voice. Like, I had a hard time telling my stories because I was um, I wasn't afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being caught in a lie I didn't tell, and that is connected to a past memory, which I think I've already kind of covered in another episode. But um, uh, through rock bottoms, I was able to eventually find my voice and stop being scared of what is really not there. It was just a fear that was created from childhood memories, right? So childhood traumas. So um, because of that childhood trauma, I created this fear, or my body created this fear to keep me safe in the future, so that the same thing will not happen again. But when you in the future go through a certain rock bottom, in my case, I went through a number of rock bottoms, and the last rock bottom gave me um, a, how do I word this? Um, it the experience put me through a series of emotions to where I ended up being face to face with what I wanted from life. And part of my want or need in life was being able to just do all the things that I know I deserve. So I've always wanted to be closer to water, and I'm in New Mexico where there's no water. Like, what am I doing here? Like I could go to a place like, not saying I don't like New Mexico, I just want water. And why can't I do that now and find water and live by it, right? And at the time, I was in my ninth, um, closing in my ninth year of massage, or in my ninth year. I had passed the 8-year mark during the last traumatic incident I had, which was the miscarriage, by the way. It also made me look at um, my situation, the job that I had chosen at the time, which I loved, by the way, all 9 years, I loved it. But I started realizing that I wanted to feel everything on my skin that I was seeing through the window because I was inside my massage room all day. And all I could think about was looking through the window whenever I was massaging somebody. Mind you, the window wasn't open, but I had a little space at the very bottom of the window for my client service dogs. And it just stayed open, just like maybe half a foot at the bottom. And I was able to see the weather that was going on at the time outside. And all I could think about was, what will it take for me to feel that on my skin and in my hair? And that's all I wanted. Like, I was so desperate. Like, I was numb at the time, so it was, um, it was I was desperate to feel anything. And so seeing the wind out there and seeing the sunshine, seeing the rain or whatever that was happening at the time, I was desperate to feel all of it on my skin and hoping that was going to give me some sort of feeling back. So I started thinking about that. I started thinking about the fact that I wanted to be near water. I started thinking about all these things. And why can't like why can't I have those? You know what I mean? Like, I started thinking about those things, and I knew that staying in massage therapy was not going to give me that. And so I had to make a decision to leave massage therapy so I can pursue something else that would give me the time of day every day to go out there and feel all of it if I so choose to. God, I can't get that cough out of my throat. So going through that trauma had lifted so many things up and led me towards pursuing something I never thought I could do, which was writing and starting a podcast. Like, something I have dreamt of for many years because I really wanted to use my voice, but I was so terrified to do. And the miscarriage somehow opened all of this up, and suddenly I was more okay with it than I was before because I was less scared. That trauma was one of the most painful things I had gone through, and the fear that I had somehow became less uh, scary, if that makes any sense. So, without those traumas, I wouldn't have found all of this. And without those traumas, I wouldn't have the compassion that I do now for people who had to go through the miscarriages and actually had a lot of different kinds of pains that they were feeling. And not everybody go through lots of pain like I did, but a lot of women do. And now I know what it feels like, because before people would be like, "Oh yeah, I had a miscarriage." I'm like, as a woman who has experienced so many um, cramps and all this stuff, I can imagine how painful that could be, right? Turns out it was nowhere close to what I thought it was, what I imagined it to be. Like, I didn't know. I've been numb before and I've been depressed before, but the level of numbness and the level of depression and the level of physical and emotional pain I went through, nothing compared to what I've ever gone through, and nothing compared to even a little bit of what I thought I was able to imagine. Nowhere close. And so, my point with all this, with all of those examples, is that without trauma, without hardships, without rock bottoms, without any of those things, those hard things, you cannot learn. You cannot learn compassion. You cannot have any more knowledge of what it is like. You can read all day and read all the books, read all the things, and learn from people, but the best teacher is experience. Unless you go through it, you have no idea. And a lot of this has everything to do with control, right? Like, um, uh, we learn through the traumas, and this created fear that your body has instilled to keep you safe and away from that same situation again, right? That fear creates a control to save you from certain danger. And in my childhood, young adulthood, I I've experienced a lot of things that I did not want my brother to experience. Here's another example. Um, but this example is more on the control portion of our trauma. And instead of using it for compassion, right? So because I know what it's like to go through all this trauma that I did go through, all the hardships, rock bottoms that I went through, I didn't want my brother to go through it. So I unknowingly parented my brother to not have those experiences. What I didn't realize back then was how that was going to be the worst thing that I can do as a sister or as a step-in parent, so to speak. I felt like I was like um, the only other person that could mother him at the time because our biological mother wasn't with us. And there was nobody there to protect us, so I decided to protect my brother. And then in adulthood, mind you, even into my 40s, I'm 45 right now, early 40s, I was still trying to control my brother to save him from certain danger. Like I could see what he was doing to himself. I could foresee the future of where he would end up. And I didn't want any of those. I wanted him to find his his value. I wanted him to take advantage of the um, the skills, the skill sets that he had that he wasn't using. Instead, he went and became a mechanic, which that wasn't his strong suit. And he went and became a security guard, which I also don't think that's his strong suit. Like, he's really good at it, not gonna lie. Like, he's even uh, rose up to being in management right now. But I don't truly think that's where his biggest talent lies. And he is a creator. He has such a creative mindset, with the ability of putting electronics together. So he was creating robotic hands for fun with paper, and it was like a paper hand was. I don't remember what he was doing, but there was a lot of things that he was able to do that I couldn't even fathom. And if there is like something that I wanted to create, but I couldn't see it, all I had to do was mention it to my brother, tell him exactly what I wanted, and he'd have it like created in his head, and he'd be able to make it for me without even looking for templates that would help him. Like I I have creativity, but his creativity level is beyond mine. Well, that's not necessarily true. His creativity area is completely different from mine. My creativity area is in my voice and Canva. I love Canva. Like I can create so much through that. I'm really good at creating a website on my own. Like all of that stuff, like I can do. But he can create costumes that is kind of uh, interactive. I cannot do that. I think that's just amazing. But um, the point is, back to what I was talking about, I tried to do so many things to make him go towards where I think he should have gone. And instead, he took the first job he was able to get, which was a mechanic. And at some point, somehow, he got into security guard. Um, but after all of that, I was still trying to tell him that that's not where he should be. And one day, with the help of my coach, my life coach, I call her my decluttering coach, which she actually does. She actually helps people declutter their homes. Um, uh, and in my case, it was a little bit of both because I'm not going to get into that. But I told her about how I am with my brother, and he was about to move in with me at the time because he had to. Well, there were reasons. He was he lived with us for 2 years before he finally left. But when he was moving in for the 2 years, um, I was afraid that I was going to lose it because he moved in once before and I did lose it. And I can't remember what I said to my coach, but I said something along the lines of, I don't want what happened before to repeat itself. And and I think she asked me what I do with him, and I'm like, well, I whenever I talk to my brother, I want to know everything so that I can like create this plan in my head to try to help him. So just what the analogy I used was, I just want to keep throwing him bones, suggestions until he finally finds one that he likes and takes action. And so, in order to have these ideas, I had to have conversations with him to understand his current situation and all that stuff. And she was like, have you ever thought about not knowing what he's going through? Just stop asking questions. Just enjoy his presence. And I was like, how? Because in my head, I'm like, but I'm not going to be able to help him. But the point was, don't help him. Just let him be. Let him talk about what he wants to talk about with you, nitpicking what he's talking about just so that I can help him the way I want to help him. Like, just lay down the control that you think you have and just let things be. And I honestly could not even grasp the idea of not talking to him, or in the sense of like trying to tell him what to do or ask questions. But I sat on it, I slept on it. The next day, I told myself, I was like, you know what? I need to do this because this control that I have of my brother Has nothing to do with him, it has to do with me, right? I'm scared to watch him fail. I'm scared to see him struggle. I'm scared to see him do any of those things because I don't want him to struggle because I know what it feels like to struggle and I don't want him to have to go through that. But without the struggle, he's not going to learn, right? And I know this. So, with that thought, I approached my husband. I said, everything that we need to bring up to my brother about boundaries in the house and all of that stuff, I will no longer talk to him about any of those things. I will no longer ask him questions. I will no longer tell him what I need to tell him, even if it's about home boundaries. I'm going to let you do that because I want to learn how to not have to talk to him when it's about me. But I have to start somewhere, and that's completely cutting myself off of any control. And even though the home boundaries is important, I couldn't, I have my husband to take care of that. So I decided to just relinquish my control to my husband, so to speak. And he knows what's most important and what um, is not necessary, which is all the things that I want to say, right? So I told him that I'm not talking to my brother anymore. Like, I'll be there for him, we'll talk, but whenever there is something important that needs to be talked about, you talk to him and blah, blah, blah. And then I approached my brother and I said, you'll be moving into my house soon, but I don't want what happened in the past to repeat itself. So I will no longer ask you if you need help. I will no longer assume you need help. I will no longer ask you any questions about whether or not you may need help in my perspective. And so, with that said, if you do need help, you have to tell me directly. Tell me that you need help with something because I'm not going to ask anymore if you need help. And if you do need help, I will stay within the boundaries of what you said and nothing more. No lectures, no assuming what you need, nothing. Like, I am no longer doing that. Like, we'll still talk. I just will no longer uh, have any inputs like I used to. So when he moved in, I kept my promise, and my husband did help me whenever conversation needed to happen. And, you know, before the first time that he had to live with us, he was he hung out with us in the living room, but for the most part he would hide himself in his bedroom and I could never figure out why. But this time, because I had made that decision, he hung out with us in the living room practically like all the time. Oh, well, he was a workaholic, so he was hardly at home. But my point is, when he did have time and he was home and he wasn't tired, he hung out with us a lot. And then somehow he blossomed in a way that I couldn't even fathom. I didn't understand. Like, logically, I understood what was going on, but as a sister with attached emotions to my brother, I couldn't understand why. Like, because he was able to work better at work, even though he was overdoing himself. He like treated himself a little bit better. He would everything was just a lot better. And I was like, holy shit. I literally held my brother back because I was so fucking worried that he was gonna fail and he was gonna end up under a bridge. So scared. But now that I made this decision, like everything just fell into place. The fuck? Anyway, so when going, my point with that story is I had to let my brother make his mistakes. I had to let my brother experience the decision making of whether or not he's going to go this direction or that, and whether it's a mistake or not, it doesn't matter. He made the decision. He had the power. He had the control over his own life. Oh my goodness. And I finally let him, uh, taking back my control over just over myself as opposed to my brother, and let him experience and let him make those mistakes and let him get up off the ground and brush himself off on his own, made a whole world of difference. Now he's in top management. Like, even though he's not in the industry that I think he should be in, that's not my call to make. And now he's doing good. Not happy, but he's doing really well. Like, he's making the money that he's always like dreamed of, like in management. He is not struggling anymore. And now he's married with this wonderful, adorable wife. And yeah, so when uh tying those two scenarios, like with my own learning of how trauma works and how I was able to rise out of it, and then me taking or letting go of the control over my brother and letting him do its thing. It's kind of the same situation, right? Just different person. Like, I was trying to control my brother, and then my fears were trying to control uh, my surroundings so that I didn't go through those traumatic experiences again. It's the same concept. What if we just, like I did, let go of that control and only think about how you react to the situation that's at hand? What will happen then, instead of trying to crazily control what's coming to you? And just let those situations come to you and let those experiences sink in. Like the miscarriage, there was nothing I can do to avoid a miscarriage, right? And instead of hating on it and be like, why did I have to go through that? Instead of that, what I guess what I'm trying to say is, um, uh, like, what can this experience bring you, right? What can it bring you? Because look at me now, like, because of that miscarriage, I have 3 books now. They're all on the miscarriage, but now I know that I have a voice that I can use. So I'll be writing more memoirs now, because now I have the confidence to do that. And I start a fucking podcast to talk about whatever the fuck I want that has to do with growth and my voice and your voice and helping you through it, like in a way that I know worked for me. So what can it bring you? Because it definitely brought a lot of good to me. And it couldn't have happened without the miscarriage. All right. There was a lot of empty spaces on this one just because it was probably one of the harder things to explain, but I got it out. Hopefully, that kind of helps you understand what it means to relinquish control. Anyway, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.